So what is this? What is this right here? I'm like super confused just watching that preview. I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but during the week, we got a poster for the Tournament of Power released, and this is what it looks like. It's Goku. We don't see him from the front. We just see him with this new fiery, sort of steamy aura, okay? And people have been speculating ever since the image came out that maybe it's Goku's version of Gohan's ultimate form. Maybe it's the next step after Super Saiyan Blue. Maybe it's him mastering God Ki. I've even seen some people saying that maybe the reason for why we don't see his eyes in the poster is because that new mode actually changes his eyes, and that's kind of what they're keeping a secret. The truth of the matter is, right now, we don't know. If you ask me personally, by the look of the preview, because the outline in the preview is a lot more sparkly than what we see in the poster, to me, I think that in next week's episode, he's going to start harnessing and building up his ki so that he can unleash the mode that we see in the poster.
So they finally adapted the opening to showcase Frieza as part of the lineup. And I have to say, this one, I think, this shot looks a little bit out of place. He definitely seems like he was inserted in there, especially because you have the Dragon Ball just kind of floating there. This second shot, though, where they're marching, initially I was going to say that he does seem like not to fit, because if you look at the lineup, all of the characters are looking straight into the camera. But then I thought about it, and I was like, no, you know what? It actually makes sense that he's glaring off into the side, that he doesn't fit, that there's no sense of uniformity between him and the team, because he's really not there for the team. He's not a team player. He's there for himself and himself alone. So it makes sense that he doesn't fit, just because his goals are not aligned with everybody else's. And speaking of the opening, we get a shot in the preview of Goku versus Bergamo, which once again kind of proves that the opening is very unreliable, because we've been tricked again. It's the same animation sequence, but now it's modified.
The Daishinkan goes over the rules again. We kind of already knew them, but we do learn that the pillar at the center of the platform is going to begin to drop, and once it hits ground level, that signals the ending of the tournament. I will say that I think that as it drops, in my opinion, I think people will be granted the ability to fly the lower that thing gets. We also find out what happens to the fighters if they fall from the platform. Nothing really bad happens to them. Nothing really horrible happens. Well, at least not immediately, because, you know, they risk, if their universe loses, it's universal destruction. But in the meantime, they just get sent back to their bench, to their respective bench with their respective God of Destruction and Kaioshin. We get 2 DQs in the episode. One is Lily Belu from Universe 10, and the other one is that genie-looking character from Universe 4. I said this in my last review, and I'll say it again. Personally, I think that the team for Universe 10 is pretty garbage. Universe 4 is interesting. I mentioned also in my last review how I thought it was so cool how each of the gods of destruction seem to have their own different abilities, different techniques, different types of attacks. And in this episode, we find that Kitela seems to have like a very, very good sense of hearing, because he actually hears Beerus say something. He's like, oh no, like this guy's promoting teamwork. Like, wouldn't you know, like it's all Beerus. So there seems to be some history between these two characters, I think, and that was brought up by that scene. I thought it was really cool. Also, Kitela is very just meticulous in terms of planning and like carrying away his strategy. You actually find out that the genie was willing to sacrifice himself to take Goku out of the ring, but then Goku went Super Saiyan Blue, so the plan failed. So yeah, it seems like Universe 4 is really reliant on planning stuff ahead of time. And actually, if you saw the God Pad, the God Pad was amazing. We have God Tube, God Pad, amazing. If you saw when Zeno was actually eliminating the genie, there's 2 empty spaces there. Those are the guys that Tenshin Han was sensing last week when he said there's a presence there. So even keeping those guys a mystery seems to be part of their scheme or plan. The fidget spinner robot strategy from Universe 3 was a total fail thanks to Hit. I think even Champa says, nice hit, Hit. Yeah, it was like a stupid little joke. But yeah, he just slams one of his arms, stops him in his tracks, and I have to give it up to Basil. Basil was putting in work in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Despite him taking an L to Boo, alright, he's responsible for the first disqualification of the tournament. Alright, he also busted one of the fidget spinner arms, granted after Hit had dealt with the first. And he was also trying to fight Porky Pig, sumo wrestler. Now, they were trying to hype up like this new type of fighting style from Universe 10. I thought it was really impressive. It looked really cool when he was able to sort of tank those blasts and then like send them out of the platform. But at the same time, it's like, if Basil was able to push you that far, you're in trouble. I mean, it's like he's not one of the strongest fighters, okay? So if he was able to push you to the border of the platform, that's an issue for Universe 10. We also find out from the goddess of Universe 2 that Ribrianne is not the only female that can transform from her group. Seems like some of the other girls can transform as well. I don't know. Well, I think the reason for why they haven't is because of the same reason that Goku gave to Beerus in this episode, is that they're kind of saving up energy. And again, I'm betting on Universe 2 to be one of the final contenders of this tournament, along with Universe 11, Universe 7, and possibly Universe 6. Obviously, the strategy that we had for Universe 7 just straight up doesn't work from the start, okay? Because there's characters in the group that are just too strong-willed, and they're too passionate, and they don't want to play it safe from the beginning. They just want to go out there and pick fights, all right? And these characters are the androids, Vegeta, Frieza, and obviously Goku. So what's left is Roshi, Tenshin Han, Piccolo, and Gohan and Krillin, which is surprising that 18 actually went and left Krillin behind. But if you see what she's doing, it seems as if she's either rushing or on par with that chick from Universe 11. Vegeta goes straight for Groot, and it seemed as if Groot has opted for playing defense at the moment versus Vegeta. Now Goku was aiming straight for Toppo. You know, he wanted a rematch, but then that kid from Universe 4 got in his way, and you know, he had to deal with him. He was like landing a couple of hits here and there. He did block like one kick from base Goku, but then after that he just kind of went away. So I think I think the characters from Universe 4 are pretty aware of the fact that Goku is not to be messed with. He's not to be taken lightly. So those guys are doing their thing. They're like, screw this. And by the way, I loved how when the Daishinkan just gave the signal to start, the entire platform turned into a nuke fest. I thought that was hilarious. Frieza's over there just, you know, randomly blasting people with his finger. The characters that did remain with Gohan, though, the actual team players, are actually being surrounded at this point by, I think one of them is Lavenda, but they're closer to the pillar, so at least they have that. They have their backs to each other. Obviously, you know, I got your back, you got mine. They jump into the air, they do their own separate techniques, aiming at the guys below, but they don't do anything. The smoke clears up, and not a whole lot of damage dealt. Goku, by the end of this episode, is beginning to be surrounded as well. And there were some spoilers that came out during the week saying that he was going to have a 1v8. I'm guessing this is the beginning of that. In my opinion, I think he's okay. Again, we see that he has this new outline on him in the preview. So my guess is also, this could be the case that because, you know how Bergamo has the ability to absorb people's attacks and then use that as his own strength? That outline that Goku has may actually be a way of nullifying Bergamo's ability and not allowing that to happen. Let me ask you this. How many characters per episode do you think are going to get disqualified? Do you think it's going to be like 2 is going to be the average? We know somebody's getting disqualified next week for sure. I mean, it's almost duh, but you see Zeno's like finger on the God pad just boop, you're done. Because I think that depending on how many characters get DQ'd per episode, that'll give us a better idea of the pacing of this arc. And by the way, like, don't get me wrong, because like, so Krillin says in this episode, wait, how long is this tournament anyway? 48 minutes. And he says, wow, that's short. It's short for them, but you know, this is DBZ time. For us, this could go on for next year. We don't know, all right? I definitely do not foresee this tournament ending before the fall. I'll say that much. And also I think that if the upcoming episodes are like this, where there's just so much stuff going on, so much action, all this bombastic stuff, even if it's slow paced, all right, you don't feel it as much because there's so much stuff going on.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget that the Jiren hype is still real. He does not move a muscle. This guy tries to come up to him. He just looks at him and is like scared. It's like some type of King's Hockey, Conqueror's Hockey from One Piece, just runs away. If this were One Piece, the guy would have fainted just by his mere presence. But he runs away. Nobody touches him. And you know what I thought? I thought it would be hilarious if he stays put, never moves a muscle up until Goku goes up to him and he actually says, I literally have not moved from this spot ever since the tournament started. As for my thoughts on this new ending, so I'm definitely going to miss Boogie Back. I think it's a great song and has great visuals for the most part, if you exclude the photoshopped Frieza. But I really like it, and I even listen to that song even when I'm not watching the show. So it's just great. I will miss it, but I can definitely see myself getting used to this new one. I will say, though, that if this is supposed to be taken as any type of symbolism or sort of foreshadowing, it almost makes it seem as if everybody from Universe 7 will be disqualified with the exception of Goku and Gohan. Not only because of this shot right here, but if you notice, the place is completely destroyed, so it seems like that's something that would happen near the finale. And also you see Chi-Chi and Goten as well as Gohan's family reflected inside of Goku. So if you interpret this ending to be some type of a hint for the story,
it definitely seems like they're aiming for that father and son duo finale.
That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I do Dragon Ball Super reviews every Saturday night. Overall, I thought this episode was a great start to the very, very much anticipated Tournament of Power. And there's chaos, there's explosions, there's so much stuff, but that's to be expected. And I think we've never had a tournament, a battle royale in the series at such a great scale. And it's just, I really am looking forward to next week. And if next week is anything similar to this, I'm going to keep looking forward to the next and the next and the next. So I'm really enjoying the ride. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys later. Bye.